happen to remember an episode of this program from, it was probably 2 or 3 months ago, in which I challenged Kyle Dubas to come up with a blueprint, but to share that blueprint with the public so that people would stop, constantly viewing hockey around here as being near the end, driving toward the edge of the cliff. You want to know something? He did that yesterday. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. And no, I am not presuming that he heard the episode, took notes, and said, you know what? On the first week of October, I'm going to do exactly that. I have no cause whatsoever to believe that the man listens to this show. I do know that there are sports executives and GMs who do. I don't know if he does. And regardless, it would be 100% his initiative. And the initiative that he took yesterday in meeting with reporters at the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex was an outstanding one. Met with them for 42 minutes. The opening 12 minutes of which were just a monologue, just a soliloquy, where he laid out what he wants this edition of Pittsburgh hockey to look like. And I say Pittsburgh hockey because he made that an emphasis, which is another thing I brought up in that episode. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. There's a certain way that people expect the Penguins to play, high skill level, always focused on offense, while, doing the other stuff too. And he brought up some stuff that he'd learned in his year in our city. A lot of the standard stuff that we hear around here all the time, how everybody's hardworking and down to earth and real. And so what he did was he laid out 3, what he called foundational principles of who the Penguins are going to be. I'm going to read these to you in order. Number 1, tremendous competitive spirit every night, regardless of who's in or out of the lineup. Seems pretty straightforward. Number 2, elite development of not only players, but also coaches and management as well. 3, and Mike Sullivan pitched into this one, controlling their emotions and responding the right way no matter what happens in games. Look, he went further than, the template. He went into areas that were specifically related to this team, but I like laying that out there. I like having the GM express the confidence that he did, not only in the team that's coming up this season, but also in what's being more broadly built. Way too many of us, and I'm guilty of this myself on occasion, see the end of Sidney Crosby's career, whenever that happens to occur, as just, it's all over. It's done. It's going to be the X generation again. It's going to be another 18-game losing streak. It's going to be the Pirates. Ooh. And I've maintained all along it doesn't have to be anything of the kind. And to Dubas' credit, look, even if this roster doesn't prove to be, some sort of contender, I think it's going to be competitive. I think it'd be kind of hard to make the case against the roster being competitive, but it's going to have to come with some sort of, some kind of edge to it. It's going to have to be, if you remember, I don't know if this was 2 or 3 years ago, it might have been 3 years ago, where the Penguins had developed this reputation league-wide as being the hardest working team in the league. That didn't last real long, but there was about 4 months or so where the opponents were just marveling at how hard the Penguins were playing. I mean, that has to come back. When you're talking about contention, you're talking about something more than just being out there and winning your share of games. That's got to be front and center in all this. Here's how Dubas put it.
We aren't favored by anybody to accomplish anything, and that's not to build a narrative. That's just simple fact. We've missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons here, as a result, I think that sets the external expectation for the season. But I think that everyone in the building knows that the season's going to be hard. We don't come in with any preconceived notions anymore that we're going to walk in and be a favorite, or we're going to walk in and strike fear into anybody. We're going to have to earn that, and we're going to have to build that competitive spirit with this iteration of the team throughout every single day in practice, in the gym, and each and every game that we play. And what we're going to try to accomplish this season, and what our goal is to be playing very meaningful hockey in March, April, and beyond.
That's great. I love it. Listen, those of you who've been listening to this show for a while, you'll know that my approach to almost everything that Dubas was either doing or saying a year ago was 180 degrees different than what you're hearing from me now. And you're going to have to trust me that it's not me who's adjusted or changed or whatever. I'm just sharing my feelings of the subject matter as it morphs into whatever it's going to morph into. I've liked the off-season that he's had. I love this stuff. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Teddy, and before I read it, I feel it's worthwhile pointing out here when Teddy sent this, because it came yesterday before the Penguins finalized their roster, and that's actually why I'm sharing it, because it's pretty cool. Teddy says, DK, I listen to your show every morning in Surrey, British Columbia. I wake up, turn on the shower, turn on my daily shot. Been doing that for a few years now, ever since I discovered your show. Favorite way to start my day. That's very nice, Teddy. But I gotta disagree with you on something. I really think Rutger McGroarty's going to make this team. His chemistry with Lars Eller and Jesse Puljujärvi looked like HBK 2.0 in the preseason. I really hope the kid sticks. Well, guess what, Teddy? You were right. He did stick. I was wrong. I didn't think he had a chance. I'm still not 100% sure if he just made it as kind of a temporary injury replacement or whatever, but it doesn't matter. You make it, you make it. Congratulations to McGroarty. He did, as Mike Sullivan was stressing later in the day, do everything in terms of improving, in terms of working hard, in terms of being open and communicative. Boy, is he communicative. I'm saying that in a good way. But he took all of that. He became better over the course of camp. You could actually see it from practice to practice, from game to game. It's something he and I talked about. This was late last week. And this kid's so quick and so bright that he would actually cite for me really, really, really specific examples of stuff that he'd picked up on and said, you see, there's a mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake twice. And then he'd go out there and not make that mistake twice. Sullivan wanted to see pace from him. That's Sullivan's new catchword. He wants to see his players in constant motion. He wants to see them not so much standing somewhere on the ice and surveying the scene as to what they should do next. He wants them to be active, be aggressive. That made it through. And in McGroarty's final preseason game, he was probably at about an 8 or a 9 out of 10 on that scale. Compared to, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but probably a 2 or 3 in his very first couple of games. Now, I'm not going down any kind of HBK path, but he's here. He's here. He made it. Eller was the only lock in the bottom 6. Puljujärvi made it. Earned it. Rose above. Might have been the Penguins' best overall performer at any position in the preseason. So with the 3 of them showing you something, you know, there's sometimes in hockey, you don't overthink this stuff. You don't overanalyze it, and you don't, stick it through too many analytical emulators or whatever. You just say, hey, look what your eyeballs are telling you. These 3 really seem to have something. We've got to win some games. We got to win them right away. We got to win back to back. Tomorrow night against the Rangers. Night after that against the Red Wings. So let's go ahead and try to see what we can get off of this apparent chemistry while it's right there in front of us. I like it. That was the one surprise for me out of all of the various roster moves, and it was a pleasant surprise. Heck, it only adds to the fun, right? When's the last time we were able to watch a young guy out there and actually try to imagine what he'll be like in a year or two? That's fun. That's good stuff. And you can still get your whole Sid and Gino fix along the way. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll do this again tomorrow in advance of the season opener.